My dear, you're in a season of change. Either you have felt drawn towards doing something or you have already done it, but the feeling has come from deep within you. This change is dramatic. It's something that's going to affect everything about your life, and you're scared. You don't know how to go about it. You're not sure what steps exactly to take. Sometimes you even feel like you're crazy for doing it, but something deep inside you is telling you that you're on the right track. Listen in, my dear. Today, this one's for you. We're talking about identity, authenticity, and integrity, and we'll touch a bit on each. So I start with a story. Stories are always good. The story I give is on my own path, because I have been on this journey, and I continue to be in it. My path to change was that I decided to quit my job. In this era, that's not really an easy decision to make because everyone's expected to be working. I didn't have a grand plan of what I was going to do after. I just felt something deep within me saying that I need to make a change, and that is a change I need to make. I had felt it within me for almost 2 years. Certainly for one, but I think even more than that. And I was toying around with the idea, but something also within me had told me not yet. So to give a bit of a background, let's put a bit of a magnifying glass on that, because I wasn't the kind of person who would ever have thought that I'd be leaving my 9 to 5. No, this is what I've been taught. This is all I know. And that is normal. That's what normal people do. So when the idea first came to me, I pushed it away. No, just a flat no. That can't be a right calling for me. Because no, it was probably something I wouldn't even entertain within my normal day-to-day. But the nudge was there, and the nudge kept coming back. And what I had been doing at the same time is that I had been working more on myself. I was doing the inner work to become more connected to me, to become more in touch with my intuition, my higher self, my soul, my God, more than what it is that I could connect to in this 3D world. And because of doing those activities, I found a certain calmness. A calmness that came upon me, and I came to realize that these things that I think I know are not everything. And I trusted. I decided to trust in God. I decided to say, if this is the path that you have chosen for me, then I shall take it. And so I did. A month or so ago is when I quit my job. And it's not this one straight line. It is not this decision and then everything is great. The weekend when I decided to quit my job, I didn't sleep. The whole weekend. I didn't sleep. I was just going through, and then it was just all these pressures that I was going through and wondering, can I do this? What will become of me? Who am I? In fact, that's the one we're going to be talking about, identity. Because I had identified with this job for such a long period of time. I'd worked there for 14 years. So doing different roles, but at the same company for 14 years. And I had noticed actually that I identified myself with the company, and had realized even outside of this conversation, or well, perhaps because of it, that was a problem. I needed to know myself outside of the company, outside of what I did. Who am I? And that is where we start with you. Who are you? We usually say, I am dash. And I am dash, go ahead and fill it out. When you meet someone, what do you say? Yeah, it could be your name, it could be your marital status, it could be your children, it could be your job, it could be anything. And if these are the things that you're thinking about leaving, it is difficult because it is a complete shift to the entity that you know yourself to be. Yes. So your ego is the one that is describing things to you, the voice that's in your head that keeps telling you what's going on. That voice has been crafted by society and the beliefs and all these things that we've learned in time. And your ego then will be telling you that this is my name and this is where I work. In my case, in your case, whatever it is that you're thinking of doing. And it takes something to be able to break this pattern. It's like living life is a pattern of things that we are meant to do, because that's what you're taught. You're born, you go to school, you get a job, you get married, you get kids, you retire, you have an activity after retirement, you live happily ever after, you die. And because we've really not had any reason to question this path, a lot of us have been trudging on that path. But then, midlife crisis. Or just the awakening, at whatever point it reaches you, is the point where we start asking ourselves, is this all there is to life? Is this all there is? And you start feeling a certain disgruntlement and feeling that there should be more. You're searching for more purpose, more meaning. Yes. And these are the things that also push to question your identity. Because remember, once you want to step away from this path that everyone knows, then you become an outlier. You become other. And being other is difficult because we all want to have this sense of belonging. Belonging is a very important feeling. Brené Brown's Atlas of the Heart talks about this really beautifully, about how the lack of feeling of belonging is what makes kids. The example she gives in the book is kids who, or a particular kid who goes out to do a school shooting in the US when they have quite a number of those. One of the key reasons that comes back for the actual activity, and not excusing it or anything like that, is the lack of feeling of belonging. So this to say that the feeling of belonging is so fundamental that without it, we can take very drastic actions. So if we're explaining that in another way, you want to be with everyone. And it's not a failing. This also comes from Stone Age, cavemen, way back when. We needed to be part of the community. If we were excised from the tribe, we would die because we needed to do things in community. We needed help cooking, feeding, all that kind of stuff. So this wanting to belong and this wanting to be like everybody else is normal. Don't beat yourself up if that's something that you're going through. But that calling, that voice, it's not... How do I put this? Ignoring that voice makes it grow louder. It comes up in different ways. If there is something that your soul is telling you is the path for you, and you try to bury it under different things, it will still come back up. It will spring up. And the way it springs up can be super detrimental. It can be in various ways, because the point is the universe wants to get your attention. So, in looking at this, who am I? I have here no boxes needed. Oh, being in the moment. Yes, being in the moment. When you're trying to experience and figure out who you are, the books I'll point you toward is Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth, and Michael A. Singer, a number of his books. I can't think of the name of any now, but he really talks a lot about this topic, the topic of how to reach within to your higher self, to your soul, to the voice outside of the ego, to the voice beyond the one that is always chittering and chattering and talking. How to get within yourself to the observer so that you connect to the you who I'll call your soul. So that you connect to the you who came clean, as a clean slate, the one who did not have all these other teachings sewn into them. The teachings were sown, but on like a piece of land. I gave that example the other day, that you have a piece of land on which all these other crops are sown, but you are separate from the land. The land is yours. And this is the one from which all these other voices stem from. So being able to step back into that space is absolutely beautiful. It's done through meditation. It's done through just being quiet. The example I'd really like to give, which is the journey that I myself took, is practicing 15 minutes of silence every day. No TV, no children, no people, no animals, no nothing. Just you and silence for 15 minutes every day. And you can let your mind go wild. You can let your thoughts go wherever they go. But the difference here is that you'll notice them. You can see yourself as separate from the thoughts. Because the chattering, and the reason I call it chattering is that there are always thoughts in your head. It's an ongoing stream of conversation whether you want it there or not. Sometimes you're thinking about things you don't want to think about, and you try to stop it, and yet somehow you still go back to it. So it is that chattering that we're talking about silencing. And once you silence that, Eckhart Tolle also speaks about this in The Power of Now, you enter the present moment. I used to find the concept of the present moment baffling. I didn't know what it meant. And maybe, even now, it's probably something I'm still looking into more and more. But how I like to think about it is being in the experience. So instead of thinking, oftentimes I find myself very far away when I'm doing something. I'm eating my meal, I'm trying to concentrate on how great it is, but beyond the first 2 bites, my mind has gone to other places and I'm off. So to bring back that concentration and to be consciously aware of the meal that I am having. I love texture, so that is something that helps bring me back. How the texture of the different things that I'm eating are playing around in my mouth. That bringing back into the body, that slowing down. For women, it's really a lot of going into your feminine energy, because your feminine energy is being in your body. It's relaxing, it's leaning back. A lot of us have a tendency to always be in the doing, in the leaning forward, controlling and planning and doing everything that's in our head. And when we do that, we lose track of being in our body. We can't relax. We can't relax. We are always on, actually. So being able to turn off, to not necessarily take the lead, is an activity. It takes practice. And I do have a course on my website, shirondune.com, called Finding Me. And it's a beautiful course because it gives a lot of exercises, including a whole workbook and worksheet of exercises. Because that's the thing with this work, you actually need to do work. It's not something that you're going to be sitting back listening to and then it suddenly happens. No, there is work that you actually need to do, and it's work on yourself. So now this ties in nicely to our next point, because I'm just looking at my notes here, trying to see what else I wrote. It says here, more than the sum of all parts. I don't know why my book is so far down. Bring it up higher. It says, connected to the oneness of life and love. That is your pure self. Connected to, people call it different things. God, the universe, source. But the point is, what is it that you are connecting to? What is it that you are connecting to? And I like to think of it as all beings connected to each other, and the intelligence being God, the intelligence being the tapestry. So this explanation is going off, but how to put it is that let me stick with the human beings, every single human being, but all life is connected to each other through what I'd call like the breath of life. And this breath of life comes from God and is God. So that is why I speak of your divinity. You are divine. You are God. And God is in you. And you are in God. And all together, all these things come and become a beautiful, beautiful landscape. So connecting to that is what we talk about when you're saying connecting to the moment, connecting to the now, connecting. All right. So we were talking about integrity. The next point is integrity. Because I've just spoken about having different parts. And in these different parts, we've spoken about your soul, your pure self, and we've spoken about the ego, the one that talks. But remember, sometimes you tell yourself different things. Sometimes you harass yourself. You go off, and of course I say all this because I've experienced it myself. You go off on a tangent and you're really berating yourself, and maybe you're using very mean words to yourself and saying horrible things. Why? Because you've internalized someone else's voice. This is something you used to hear when you were young, or you've heard somewhere along the path in your life. There's someone who used to speak to you that way, and you have taken that someone and put them inside you, and that someone now speaks to you in that way. And they're different people. Along life, there's your parents, there's maybe your teachers, maybe your neighbor, maybe heaven knows who. So they're different voices, and these are the things that I'm calling different parts. They're different parts within you. Then there's your inner child. The inner child who went through different difficulties, different traumas in life, and they got stuck at the point of that trauma. It changed you. And they are there as well, and they fear the emotions and the feelings that surrounded that particular activity. And it still affects you even if you're not consciously aware of it. So sometimes you'll show up in a situation in a certain way without consciously being aware that the reason you have done what you have done is because your inner child has stepped out, or rather you are protecting your inner child. And then there are other parts of you. There are parts of you which are trying to make sure that you never ever go back into a situation like the one that inner child was in. There are other parts of you, there's a lot going on. And I know I'm painting quite a picture, but I think if you spend some time contemplating yourself and why you do the things you do, if you've done some inner work on that topic, this is not new to you. This is something that you're aware of. So the point that I want to bring out here is imagine yourself as the conductor of an orchestra. Ooh! So all these bits and pieces, all these voices and things and parts of you that make you react in different ways, all these bits of the past that have been stuck in you and you still remember and are reacting to, are parts, but we take them as members of an orchestra. So there's the one playing the drums, there's the one playing the guitar, there's the one playing whatever it is that's in an orchestra, or violins and all those instruments. So you have different ones. And I like the idea of an orchestra because some are louder than others. Some have a bigger impact than others. And yet all of them will affect you in some way. So if you see yourself as the leader of the orchestra, then what you are doing is that you are conducting all these instruments to play a tune, such that it's not that everything is just reactive. It's not that there's chaos. You can never get track of what's going on with you because everything is always up and down and you never understand anything. No. To do this, you go into yourself. There's a book called No Bad Parts by Richard Schwartz. And in that book, he talks about all these parts and this notion of parts. He's the one who came up with something called internal family system. And I really like that concept because he says if you look at all these parts as members of a family, then it's like taking them for counseling. And then you let all of them speak and say what's happening and what went wrong. And then you give them time. And because of that, you get to understand that none of them are bad. None of the members of the orchestra are bad. And to take this back into context, this voice that is telling you, heaven knows what, this voice, this nagging voice that is speaking badly to you, you are the conductor of the orchestra. So what you tell that voice is, no, I shall not be spoken to that way. You make a decision and you're firm because you are the leader and they must listen to you. You don't shut them down. It's not the message that you do not want to hear. It is the mode of communication that you are tempering. Yeah? And when you do that, you must also listen to what they have to say because they're there for a reason. They're not just making noise. Again, you're conducting an orchestra. The flute and the trumpet are all important, but they need to play at different times and at different volumes. So you listen to what the flute is telling you. You listen to that tune. And what listening to the tune means is that you get to understand that within you is the voice of your third grade teacher who told you you'd never amount to much. This actually happened to me. It was kindergarten. Can you imagine? Kindergarten. They told, anyway, the message from this teacher was that I wasn't very bright and my smile would get me places. Can you imagine? What world is this where such information is given to kindergarteners? Yeah, unfortunately. So if that is a voice that used to be within me, it would be coming up and coming up and coming up whenever I want to strive for something. And what I will do is I would pull myself back because the voice is telling me I cannot do it. So part of listening to the flute, part of singling it out and saying, I want to listen to your tune, is understanding that that is the message that you're bearing within. The message you have is from that kindergarten teacher that you will not amount to much. And then what you do is you ask yourself, do I want to carry on with that belief? Is that a message that I want to believe about myself? And you say no. You say no. By doing that, what you're doing is that you're freeing the inner child. I'm freeing my kindergartner from having been bound by that belief. I am cutting the chains, and the kindergartner is now free, and that voice then disappears. I release the voice. It no longer has an impact on me because I have chosen a different path. Well, that's what we are. In this life, we get to decide. We get to create our reality. So while I was still chained by that voice, that was the reality that was forced upon me, that I shall never amount to much. Because it was told, especially at that age, kindergarten, it was told to me at such a young age, it went into my subconscious and has been leading my life without my knowing it. So with that removed, with that voice removed, then I can now do whatever I want to do. I don't have that limitation anymore. And that is what we're doing with the flute. So we are not telling the flute to stop playing. We are listening to its message and then determining if we want it to retain that tune or we want to give it new music. And the new music we've given it is a beautiful melody that says, I can do anything. Yeah? Oh, so that is integrity. Integrity, I heard this, it was, I believe, Glennon Doyle in her book. She explained integrity as being integrated to yourself. And I found that absolutely beautiful. It means taking all these different parts, and organizing your orchestra so that it is singing one composition, it is singing one piece of music. Yeah? And then you are not crippled by that flute that is always going off key. No, you are not crippled by that voice that has always been telling you that you cannot amount to much. You get your chance to be beautifully you. And you're not hiding. You're not hiding parts of yourself. Because that's the thing with these parts. They're parts of you that are not really nice. They're parts of you that, however occurring, do not blend in nicely with society. They're the parts that society has told us, no, you're not meant to do X, Y, Z. You shouldn't. All the shouldn'ts, yeah? All the shoulds and shouldn'ts. The things that society has taught you is the right path. Remember, that's not the path of the ego. The ego is trying to make sure that this village doesn't kick you out. So it is telling you when you want to do, if you're gay, let me use that example. If you're gay and you have been taught all your life that you must hide this fact, it is wrong. It is wrong. You are not meant to be that way. It is telling you that you yourself, it is building it in so much shame within you because you're being told that you are wrong. Yeah? So integrity means letting this part of you that society has said is wrong be. Letting it come back into the light. So that is your shadow. Letting your shadow step into the light and aligning yourself with who you are. That means that you are no longer suppressing these bits of you that you do not like. You're learning how to live with them, and you're learning how to let them have some space in the light. And it could really be anything. It could be that you want to always be the one dominating conversations. You always want to be the one in the limelight. Start a YouTube channel. Truly, it was something I found about myself. I really like to talk and I really like to be in the middle of conversations. And this was one way of bringing that shadow back into the light. Because then it gives me the opportunity to do something that I would otherwise have been told not to. It is wrong. Look into yourself. Find these things that try to jerk out. And the best way to find these things is how you react to other people and situations and things. The things that make you annoyed, upset, for whatever reason. Whenever that happens, that is an opportunity to look into yourself and see what it is that is hidden within you that you actually want. Like when you're jealous of somebody. I had this reaction the other day. Someone did something and I felt a little twinge. Something has gotten into my... I hope it will go. I got a little twinge about it. I just And I was going to let it go and pretend that nothing had happened. But those are the opportunities. Don't let them go. Whenever you just feel And if about someone else, go, sit down, journal. Or even just sit by yourself and ask yourself, why did I feel that way? Why was that my reaction? And what might come out is that there's something about that person that you want for yourself. Jealousy is such a beautiful gift because it's unleashing these things that are deep within you that you might otherwise not know. You're here to experience life. You're here to live. And there are some of these experiences that you're stopping yourself from having because society said you shouldn't do or that they're wrong. So if you do find yourself jealous about something someone is doing, prod it, look into it and see what it is that you want or just whatever reaction it is that you have. Integrity. And I have here that when you're talking about identity, when I was talking about your soul, your wholeness, your pure self, it is more than the sum of all your parts. It is more than the players in the orchestra, because you are like you're not part of the orchestra, let me put it that way. You're not part of these beliefs. You're not part of what has been taught. You are, again, as I was saying, the land is yours. The orchestra is yours. You are godly. And that is a beautiful thing to be. So next we go to authenticity. Authenticity, let me just read it. Showing up, I need reading glasses. Anyway, showing up with your full orchestra always and letting them show up and not be disrespected. I absolutely love this. So authenticity is, now that we've seen that, yes, there are different parts of you. And some are, some we don't like as much, but all of them are there and all of them have a chance to be there. And inner work is actually this activity of going to each of them, finding out their sources and healing them. That is what the inner work process is, which then creates a new you. Because once you heal these things that have been holding you back, you are no longer held back. Think of yourself as just having so many chains that were tying you down, and then you start freeing one chain at a time, and you're running a marathon. So before you know it, you're free, and you can run, and you can go for gold. So authenticity, again, is that you not only show up with everything. That means practically that when you go into a certain space, first of all, you're not masking. You're not pretending to be someone that you're not. You are allowing yourself to be fully you. It helps to be in touch again with your intuition and your inner self, because it's like right now I'm thinking of it like a pole. Why like a pole? Like an anchor. A pole that everything is going around. So everything, it's like a magnetic pole that all these pieces are then now being drawn towards. Because it's like if you think of it like a golden light going through your middle, going through from, like, well, I'm seated down, so it would be from my ass. From my ass to the top of my head. Just this beautiful light that is going through as a pole. And it is so beautiful and wholesome and nourishing that all these parts of you are drawn towards it. It's amazing and it's beautiful. And when that light is on, when that glow is on, you allow all these parts to be, and they are playing beautiful music. And that light is you orchestrating it. Yeah. So being in your authenticity, being your authentic self means having that light on and occupying any space and any room you are in as all of you. As all these different parts of you, even the ones which are not healed, even the ones that want more. You're you. You're not trying to hide. You're not fearful of input. You're not trying to get something for nothing. You don't fear that you are less, because you already have this inner glow. You've been working on yourself, and because of that, it's not that easy to manipulate you. And you have your intuition that will guide you either way. Your soul, your inner self, your inner knowing will guide you in any case. So you don't have all the answers, not by a long shot. Not at all. In fact, all you have is like a little light at your feet that is showing you where to put one step in front of the other. But because you are integrated, you have put everything together, you then allow yourself to be yourself. Practically, I want to think of, there's a time I called myself into this recently. I was in a setting of very different kinds of people, and I wasn't too sure. I was trying to mask because I didn't know what these people expected of me. But because I didn't know what these people expected of me and that they were so different, I then chose to be myself. And that was so much more relaxing because then I wasn't playing a part. I wasn't trying to be who I thought these people might want me to be because I had no idea who they'd want me to be. And I felt myself belonging. I felt the sense of belonging because I had allowed myself to be my authentic true self and to stand up for me. And a fine note that I put here was I'm not allowing these parts to be disrespected. So I was in a group also not so long ago with different people, and there was something that someone said, and then that person left, and everyone else was talking about it and finding what they said was wrong, and they were more or less laughing at it and stuff like that. And there's a part of me that felt that that was not right, both because I agreed with that person who had left, and I don't want to be the kind of person who is gossiping and backbiting people after they leave. No, 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 no. So I just called that to attention. And because I was my stance, my inner light, then this inner glow, I guess, became more apparent. Then I didn't tell them to stop talking about it, but they themselves stopped. The energy that I was carrying myself with did not allow that disrespect. And that is something that is available to you. I'm truly happy for your journey, actually. You who is doing new things and chancing out and asking yourself, how will it go? The reality is that if you are aligned to your inner self, your journey will go perfectly. Your journey will go exactly how it is supposed to go. I hear a lot of people talking about being in the transitional phase, and that's really beautiful, and transitional in terms of manifestation and also quantum leaping, meaning that you're changing from the person you used to be to a new version of yourself. The words are big, but simply the simple meaning of it is just that you want something different for yourself, which is now in this case where you're making the change. You want something different, and you are then changing the person that you are today to be able to receive that new life. Because the person you used to be was not a person who could take the new reality. Let me break it down a little bit more. It's what I said about my kindergarten teacher, who incidentally was a nun. But anyway, my kindergarten teacher saying that I shall not amount to much. I needed to change from the person who had heard that into a new version of myself by releasing that belief. So because I released that belief, I then became someone who could do anything and could amount to plenty. But then those two versions of myself were different. So sometimes when you hear people talking about being in this in-between space, it's when you're moving from that person into this person. And sometimes there's things that happen. I'll give you my own example. It's really strange. I've just tied it in now. One of the things that happens to me is like tech. There are glitches like in the tech. Something just goes wrong. There's a time my phone completely died for no apparent reason, or just things. I was trying to do something online, then it wasn't working. I put on lights and they wouldn't put on, and then I put them on again and they came on. So just little things like that. And then I've come to realize that that's means that I am making a change. So I look forward to it. Nowadays I'm looking forward to those glitches. But it's not all of them. Sometimes there are actual times when things are not working. I appreciate your company. Thank you, and I wish you all the best on your journey. Please put in the comments. Let us know how your journey is going for you, and I look forward to hearing from you.